welcome. We're probably going to dive right into this reading quickly. I'm on a little bit of a timeline because I have an appointment coming up, and so hopefully we keep this under the time frame I have been doing it under. There's a little bit more. If you go to my community page, I've linked something that shows the spread and explains the different positions, so I'm not going to go into that anymore. You can go there and do that. So we're going to start out real quickly. The mask position, the first position, we have the 7 of Cups. So the 7 of Cups in this position is, I feel like we might at this time have a decision that we need to make, and we're struggling with that decision. And sometimes when we lack to take action, it comes from a place of not believing in ourselves enough, or not having enough confidence in ourselves to make that decision. I know I'm probably I'm gonna try not to go too fast because I don't want to rush things, but at the same time I kind of do. So this will be I gotta slow myself down. I gotta take a break because I can always stop the video if I need to. So to clarify the 7 of Cups, we have the Hanged Man and the 8 of Swords coming out here. I keep forgetting that there's a glare on that side. So we have the Hangman and the 8 of Swords clarifying the 7 of Cups. So the Hangman it can be the stuck energy, and then we have the 8 of Swords, which is mental confusion, where we kind of get ourselves stuck because we're going around and round and over about something. So that's clarifying the fact of what I said, that I feel like the big thing that's coming through today on this reading is the mask has to do with something around not having the confidence to make a decision at this time. And I have a feeling, because I pulled these ahead of time, the cards and the position, so I can kind of get the story. And one of the cards we have coming out later is the 9 of Pentacles, which actually it makes sense with this. So if we go to the next position, card number 2, our next position is the mirror position. The mirror position in this reading is all about what's being reflected back to you at this time. What is kind of encouraging, like maybe showing us what we need to do at this time. I feel like that's what's being reflected back, the lesson that maybe we need to learn, or what we're trying, like what is kind of almost the mental thought process of what is bringing this up to the subconscious to look at in a way. But I feel like it's what is being triggered from externally out, where the next position, when we get into the flame position, is more internally. So we have external and internal influences here. So this is more your external influence, what's outside of you, and how this is influencing what's going on at this time. And with this being the King of Pentacles, I really see this as, like there might be people around you that is actually triggering something. I kind of hate using the word trigger, but maybe motivating you is better. Motivating you to, or encouraging you in some way to say, hey, maybe I would like to be in a better position in my life than where I am. The King of Pentacles is all about, having a lot, being comfortable, comfort. It can be, I think I'm not good with necessarily the tarot as far as the signs they represent, but I'm getting a lot of like very earthy energy. It is Pentacles, so it would be earth, but I'm getting like that Taurus energy of wanting like creature comforts, of wanting to be comfortable. And maybe right now in your life, you're not feeling like you're in a place where you can really just be comfortable. Like maybe you're just getting by and just making ends meet, and you're like looking at and examining with the 7 of Cups, like, okay, well, what direction can I go to change my circumstances, to change, like my lifestyle and the way I'm living right now, because I don't like that money's maybe tight, because Pentacles is about tangible things that are in our reality. They're very tangible, tactile things we can feel and see and smell, use the senses for. So this can talk about, that's why a lot of times when pentacles come up in reading, it can talk about wealth and money and good fortune, things like that, because it is something tangible. So I feel like with the King of Pentacles being here, being the crux of the pentacle tree, we're talking about like, how can I improve my lifestyle? How can I find a way to make my life a little more luxurious or comfortable than it currently is what I'm getting here. So let's go ahead and get a clarification on this King of Pentacles. Sometimes I almost wonder why I pull clarification. I may get away from pulling clarifications unless I really need it, because I feel like the story comes out without them, but it does reinforce the message. So that's kind of why I pull them, is just to get that verification and reinforce the message that I'm already seeing, because it does tend to do that in ways. So we have the Page of Wands here clarifying the King of Pentacles. So with this Page of Wands clarifying the King of Pentacles, I have to think about this from the position it's at. So with this being in the mirror position, what's being reflected back to us? And we have the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is all about curiosity. It's being curious about something. It's like a childlike energy of being curious about something. So and that's being reflected back to us. So maybe what's being reflected is that maybe we're not thinking outside of the box enough when it comes to how maybe we can change our lives or influence our level of comfort. Maybe we're trying, especially with, because this can be the Seven of Cups, this is having lots of options, and it can be a very daydreamy, illusion-y energy. And we're getting lots of themes of illusion kind of coming through these readings, which doesn't surprise me. As I've mentioned before, if you watched any other readings this week, Neptune is in retrograde, so it doesn't surprise me that we have these themes of illusions coming through. But this is can be a very dreamy, daydreamy energy, and so it can be maybe that it's got our creative juices flowing, where we are looking at, through this mask, the mask, we're starting to examine maybe some of our values and beliefs around the choices that we've made, and why did we make the choices we made. And maybe we're thinking, especially with the Hangman energy that was clarifying that Seven of Cups position, or the mirror position, is the Hangman's all about getting a different perspective. So maybe, and Eight of Swords was also clarifying that, getting stuck in our head, going round and round about something. And so we're definitely in our head going round and round about a choice we want to make, because maybe we realize that we need a different perspective. We need to do things a little bit differently than we have been doing them. And so we're getting ideas, and I feel like that's the curiosity that's being mirrored out. Maybe you're looking externally at things in the world and people in the world, and finding maybe people that you want to mirror your life after, that you're seeing that reflected. I would like to have that life. How can I have that life? Which is that Page of Wands, that curiosity that's feeding that, driving that, external, like looking at those external, the people in the world or in your life, and saying, why am I not able to have those things? But that can almost stem from, we have to, and maybe that's part of it. Sometimes that can come from a wound of feeling like we're not enough or we're not worthy. Because if we feel like we can't have something, and that's what it breeds a lot of envy and jealousy. It comes from those the woundings of not feeling good enough, or not feeling worthy of something, believing, wanting something that somebody else has, not believing that we can have that ourselves. And that comes from a limitation within us that we have learned. And so that can be something that can be unlearned. And maybe that's something around what we're kind of diving into here, is maybe questioning those things of that curiosity with the Page of Wands, is questioning, why am I not receiving these things? What do I need to do differently? How can I change, or how can I do something differently in my life to be able to receive those same kinds of gifts, those same kinds of things, those same kind of comforts in my life. And I like here that we had in the third position, which is our, the internal, this is the flame. It's what drives us from internally to make these changes at this time, or to bring these things to the surface for us to look at. And I really like the Emperor being here because, interesting enough, the Emperor can be, somebody that has a lot of pride and ego, but pride and ego isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it can be a force for good. And in this case, I feel like it is, because it's the Emperor is somebody who knows what he wants and he will go after it. He will take action on those things. And so I like this being in the flame position or showing up, because it's telling me there's something, really pushing you to move. And I think that maybe it's the circumstances of your life. Maybe right now things are really challenging for you, possibly financially. And because of that, you're really drive to make that, there's this really strong inner drive to make that change that you're trying to make at this time, and trying to figure out what is causing my limitation. Why am I limited in this way? And how can I change? And that's always a good thing. When you start asking those questions of yourself, it's always a good thing, because then you start understanding or looking at you're not limiting your possibilities, because then you're expanding your aperture, your view of yourself and the world at large, and saying, I deserve more than this. That's what you're telling the universe and telling the world, is I deserve more. I see that I want more than this, and how can I go after it? And having that of the emperor behind it to drive, wanting that more. So it really emphasizes to the universe that, that you're trying, that you want to change, that you really have this desire to grow and have more than what you had before. And we have to clarify that the King of Wands, look at that, another king, a king on that emperor. So, and the King of Wands is all about like passion in the flame position. So that's just like double fire right there. It's like extra fire, because this is in the flame position. So this is like really passionate, determination of wanting to change, wanting to do something differently, wanting to find a different way, really wanting to seek a different way of doing things, trying to be creative. We had that curiosity that, like the small page of wands here, of like, I'm opening the door because I want more. And there's this part of me that's really, internally, that really wants more. And I'm willing to investigate and learn and figure out what it is that I need to figure out to achieve more in my life. So we go on to the fourth position, and the fourth position for me in this spread is the boundary position. So the boundary position is all about what we kind of maybe need to say no to at this time, or what's limiting us, what is taking our energy, what is maybe holding us back, what our limitations might be in some aspect, something that where we might need to set a boundary. And with this being the Page of Cups that is coming out in this position, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast, it's a combination of things. I tend to talk fast anyway, but then when I know I'm kind of under a crunch time-wise, it doesn't help. Let me put it that way. It doesn't help. So we have the Page of Cups in this position, or sorry, the Knight of Cups. I thought it was a page. It's the Knight of Cups. My bad. So the Knight of Cups. Either way, I knew what the message that needed to come out on this card is all about. So, the Knight of Cups presents his cup to the world. He's somebody that, because knights are messengers. So this is somebody who is trying to express himself emotionally to the world. And unfortunately, with this being in the boundary position, I see this, I have to kind of look at this as at the negative context. Oh, I can't get the word out. Context. And what this is telling me in the context of this reading is that we might be putting our energy and time into too many things at this time. If I go back to the Seven of Cups, there might be, we might be giving our cup to too many things, and maybe there's an evaluation going on of what things need to change, or how do I need, what I'm giving to, or my beliefs, values, what am I feeding my energy into, that's maybe creating this narrative in my life of not having what I want. What it really is getting at, where I feel like the boundary here is more of really examining what you are giving your time and effort and energy into. Are there things that you can take out of your life? Maybe you're spending too much time scrolling on your phone. Maybe you're spending too much time on social media. Maybe and I shouldn't be saying that since I'm here on social media, but it's things like that. And what shows am I watching? Am I watching too much TV? And what am I doing? How am I spending my time? Because I can tell you, the people that are, if you're somebody that is coming here and you're listening to this reading and it's resonating for you, and maybe you're wanting to earn more income, or to do more, or achieve more in your life in some way, it comes at the price of actually, you have to be dedicated to whatever that is. You have to put the time and effort and energy in toward whatever that is if you want to see success in it. It doesn't come yes, there are people that do achieve things overnight. They get lucky and they just, just things happen for them. And that does happen. There's people that also inherit wealth, those things you can't really escape, because those are just things that, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but those are things that those people, they were born into that life, that they were meant to have that, that was meant to be their life experience, to have those things. But there are the burdens that come around having a lot of money. So don't get me wrong, those are different sets of challenges. Everything, I love the meme that went around a while, and I think it's very good, and I might have to see if I can find that and post it, but on my community page. But it's all about everything is hard, whether you stay in a marriage or leave a marriage. It's both sides of the fence are hard. Or being single is hard. Being married is hard. Being unemployed is hard. Working is hard. Everything you can say there's something hard about every aspect of life. Everything has its difficulties. Everything has its challenges. It's just what challenges you want to endure or face or encounter or deal with, So it really is just choosing your battle, so to speak, choosing what you want to put that, have what challenges you want to have in your life, so to speak. So let's go ahead and get a clarification on this Knight of Cups. No. Yes. Is that right? Do you want both? Is that what it was? No, just this one. Okay. So the Ace of Pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles with that clarifying the Knight of Cups. Oops. Let's turn the card the right way. So with that clarifying that the Ace of Pentacles clarifying the Knight of Cups here is talking about, so it's new beginning, and we even have they're offering their cup, and what we're wanting to make sure that what we're offering, or what we're putting our time, effort, and energy to. So this is the boundary. The boundary is being kind of, I can't, strict keeps coming through, but I don't think that's the word I want to use. But we have to be prudent or discerning about what we're putting our effort into. What new beginnings we're starting. What are we feeding into? What are we investing our time and effort and energy to? Is it going to eventually lead to what we're trying to, what we're seeing that we want to accomplish, or what we're wanting to mimic, what's being mirrored to us that we want, that we don't have right now. So it's that, again, it's kind of that evaluation process of really kind of going down and ticking off and saying, okay, well, if maybe it's it's not just, where you're spending your time and effort and energy. It could be how you're spending your money. It could be, reevaluating what you're spending money on. Maybe, you're going and getting coffee out every morning and you're spending, X amount of dollars every week on coffee. And you're like, well, I could make coffee at home, for X dollars cheaper every week and save that money. Or how much am I investing? How much is going into savings? It could be something like that. It's just really, doing that kind of evaluation of what am I doing and what am I putting that into? What am I putting my effort, or how am I doing things, or how can I do things differently to get a different result is what I'm getting. So in the fifth position is it's the wave, which is the wave is all about what emotions need to be felt at this time, or what emotional truth needs to be felt at this time or expressed at this time. And in this position, we have the Nine of Pentacles. And I kind of touched on that earlier. And the reason I did is because I felt like it needed to be said that this was part of the read. And in our emotions, this is what we're trying to accomplish in a sense. The emotion that we want to feel is this independence of feeling like that that we're independent and we can stand on our own, that we're secure in ourselves, we're secure in our life, we're secure in our financial stability. Everything is going good for us, so that we feel like we're not in this place where we're just making ends meet, or we're just getting by, or we're craving more, where we're satisfied, where we're fulfilled in our life. Because that's what Nine of Pentacles is all about, is like being, fulfilled, really fulfilled in your life, in a tangible way. Because the Nine of Cups can be that wish fulfillment. It can be fulfillment emotionally. But with this being Pentacles, it's that kind of one step further, where there's so many pentacles coming out in this reading, so many cards of pentacles, which is the tangible reality. Whereas, the Nine of Cups can be this, having, mentally, emotionally having well-being, mentally and emotionally. The Nine of Pentacles is talking about having that in a tangible sense in your physical reality. So you're good on kind of all levels, so to speak. So let's go ahead and get a clarifier, but I really feel like it didn't really need one, but we'll get one anyway. So we have the Death card coming out here. The Death card is really putting, I feel like with this, emotions, we want to put an end to anything that's making us feel like we're not sovereign in ourselves, that we're not in this place, anything that's keeping us from feeling and obtaining this, that Nine of Pentacles status of feeling stable and secure within not only our mental and emotional state, but also in our physical reality as well. So to wrap this up, the last position is the permission position, and that is all about what the heart of the reading, in a sense, is the work of the culmination of everything, of what we need to say yes to at this time, what we need to say yes to that will help us, basically work through some of what we're working through. It's our sacred yes. It's what we need to allow ourselves to do that maybe we're not doing. It's kind of a little bit of advice, so to speak. I would say this is almost like an advice position. It helps you understand what actions maybe you need to take at this time. And so with this being the High Priestess, I feel like this is all about our intuition. It's about our inner wisdom, going within, really trying to understand why something is affecting us, or why something is coming up at this time. That's what it's all about. This work is all about just going within and really learning to ask yourself the questions. I really feel like, let me go ahead. So I haven't shown this yet. This is my book. It's We Are Not What We've Been Taught. This is all about the work of doing the mask. It walks you through a lot of different scenarios and kind of engages you in thought and asks you those deep questions that you can ask yourself and think through to try to really understand why you do the things that you do in your life, or why you make certain choices or do certain things. And so it helps you understand yourself better. And through that evaluation process, it really helps us to understand who we are or who we want to be. It allows us to change those things that maybe are not no longer good for us or no longer serving our higher good. And this reading is a prime example of something like that, where when we start questioning why am I not living the life that I want to live, when we start asking those questions, when we really see people in the world that we see something that we idolize or something that we desire in the world, we start to wonder, like, why am I not having those things? And when we start feeling feelings of, and I think I touched on this earlier, feelings of envy or jealousy or something to that effect, it's usually driven from this fact of feeling like we don't deserve it, or we're not worthy, or we're not, like there's something wrong with us. And that all comes to wounding, and wounding is just something that we've accumulated because of experiences that we've had. It can come from any direction in our lives. It can come from a coworker, it can come from a friend, it can come from a family member, where it's just an experience that we've had that at the time we didn't have the right tool set because we were young, we were kids, we didn't know any better. So we dealt with the situation in the best way that we could, in the way that we could figure out how to protect ourselves. And my nose is really itching, so I don't know, I'll have to look up what that means, but I don't know if something is trying to get my attention or what, but I have this like itch, really severe itch that just came on my nose all of a sudden. I feel like somebody's taken a feather and like tickling it with a feather, like trying to get my attention, being a distraction, so to speak. But it really comes, when it comes to this kind of thing, it can happen, as I was saying, like we go back to this kind of this Page of Wands here. It really can be about that at the time when we formed these ways of dealing with things in the world, when we learned how to navigate the world, we did it from a place, a lot of times we were just a child, and we just figured things out the best way that we could. But those things that served us as a child may no longer serve us as an adult, because now we have more tools in our toolbox. We have more things to work with. We've experienced more of the world. We can go back and evaluate some of these things that we learned growing up and say, are these really doing me any good? Like, to believe what I believe, is it really helping me? To continue to believe that maybe, or what am I doing, or what event in my life caused me to not feel good about myself, or not feel like I'm worthy of something more or something better in my life, or what's stopping me, what's hindering me from saying yes, and so we have to do that evaluation process. We have to, and it's not surprising that the High Priestess would come out in this position when we start out with a card of somebody doing an evaluation, of why, wanting more and trying to understand what is limiting me. So this is really a card, this is really a spread about growth, of growth, of maturing and growing in some way, expanding our life and our perception and the way we view the world in a broader way than we did before. And it might be that it was something that you took on or believed as a child that stayed with you your entire life. And so it's keeping you stuck in this little tiny box. And so you're punching and trying to break out of that box, trying to break free of the bounding box that you're currently in. And that's what I feel like this reading is about, is like trying to break free and break loose of limitations of where we've maybe kept ourselves stuck in some way, so that we can have something more, so that we can have something better for ourselves than what we're currently experiencing right now, because we all have the ability to improve and make our lives better. It's just it's a choice that you have to make. And so for the people that are coming to this reading, I feel like this is a choice you're making. You're here because you know there's something that you want to change. You clicked on this reading because the title drew you in, because you know it's something that you want for yourself, or that you're thinking about for yourself because you want more, and you know you want more, but maybe you're struggling with how to go about that. And so the answer and the advice is to really listen to yourself, because no one can be your guide better than you can. You're the only one that really truly knows yourself, that really can give yourself. You're the only one that's experienced the things that you've experienced. You're the only one that knows, what event in your life maybe caused that. And so it's learning to reframe those things for yourself in your own life, and looking at it from a different perspective that's going to change your narrative and change the story, so that you can go to a new chapter in your life and you can have these new stable beginnings. It's once we get rid of the shaky foundations, the quicksand that maybe that we have created in our life in some way because of beliefs or values that we have that just aren't serving us, and it's creating these weak foundations for us. Once we remove those, or once we understand they're fallible, then we see the illusion, or we see through the illusion that they weren't created in a way that promotes something positive and good in our lives. Then we can change that and say, this isn't serving me anymore. I want to set this down because it just isn't good for me anymore, and I can move forward. And that can be, as we kind of talked about in this reading, it can be many things. It can be, you can set down. It can be a person, a place, a thing. It can be a thought process. It can be a belief, a value. It can be as simple as changing the way what you put your time, effort, and energy into. It can be how you're spending money. There's lots of different ways of how we can change things in our life to make things different. So I really appreciate you taking the time to stay with me and come and join me today. And I appreciate you, and I hope that this resonated with you in some way, and it helps you in some way. And I thank you so much again from the bottom of my heart. I wish you the best. See you on the next one.